Very sad. Janelle and Kody Brown drops breaking news, it will shock you. In the world of reality television, few families are as intriguing and complex as the Browns from the show Sister Wives. One of the standout moments from the series occurred when Robin Brown threw a fit over Christine and Janelle celebrating a seemingly humble Christmas with their children. This episode provided a fascinating glimpse into the dynamics of the family, revealing layers of jealousy, competitiveness, and perhaps even insecurities that have been simmering beneath the surface. It was evident from Robin's significant outburst that she had been nursing feelings of jealousy. In her mind, it seems she had expected a grand Christmas celebration with Janelle, Christine, and their children falling over themselves to join in. Her anticipation for this gathering was palpable, and when it didn't transpire as she had envisioned, Robin couldn't contain her emotions. Her jealousy was apparent, particularly because she had invested heavily in expensive decorations, a lavish tree, and elaborate gifts, only to find herself with a lackluster holiday. Her frustration became all the more pronounced with Mary as the apparent fifth wheel. Robin's inability to handle this situation reveals her struggle with jealousy and her strong desire to be the center of attention. Her tantrum can be interpreted as a reaction to her perceived competition. She couldn't bear the thought of Janelle, Christine, and their children enjoying a memorable Christmas without her, and this drove her into a fit of rage. What's striking is that Robin's grandiose display ultimately backfired, and she ended up ruining her own holiday. Her actions in this instance highlight not only immaturity but also a mean-spirited side to her character. It becomes evident that Robin is competitive, but she attempts to conceal it behind a facade of sweetness. This facade, however, crumbled during this episode, revealing the vulnerability that lies beneath the surface. A closer look at Robin's background sheds light on her behavior. It's been reported that her mother was a wife who was often overlooked, and Robin's childhood experiences may have shaped her determination to always be number one. This desire for validation and attention could be the driving force behind her behavior. Another aspect worth noting is Robin's apparent need to make her version of Christmas seem more special and extravagant than the others. She may have convinced herself that she is the one with the fancy house, the lavish presents, and the exclusive holiday traditions. This perception of superiority, even if it's only in her own mind, seems to drive her actions and reactions. Digging deeper, it's possible that Robin feels that her Christmas celebrations are a diluted version of what the family once had. She may be aware, at some level, that her attempts to outshine the others are merely a mask for the emptiness she feels. In this way, her Christmas tantrum becomes a reflection of her insecurities and the lengths she'll go to hide them. In conclusion, Robin's outburst over the Christmas celebration on Sister Wives was a revealing moment that exposed the underlying dynamics and tensions within the family. It's clear that jealousy, competitiveness, and insecurity play a significant role in shaping her actions. This episode serves as a reminder that, beneath the facade of unity and sisterhood, the Brown family, like any other, has its fair share of complexities and struggles. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Rosie and I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching and hit the subscribe button. So let's start on the other hand the clip about the family chancing out Mary closed on the eye. Suppose this occasion is most telling about Mary's personality. She gets it done. Whether it's her business or Maddie's marriage, she has a strong work heritage and she gets done what she sets out to do. So she set out to buy the inn, asked the family for help or tried to include them. When they let her down days before the ending, she went in to get it done mod and figured out how to close on her own. She has every right to feel ditched. They squinched her over at the last nanosecond and they also gave her a hard time when she said, "Screw you guys, I'm going to get this done." Watching that clip of them principally bludgeoning her over the head made me so angry. She had nothing to apologize for. They should be apologizing to her. She just kept saying she did Nothing wrong, and she didn't marry kept doing Laro through all the craziness, and she seems to still do enough well. Granted, perhaps that is due to the show, but that's hard work. You get a payload. Photograph it, put it online, have Facebook showings, have to do billing. Also package it for shipping, she gets it done. And I imagine Maddie, who did not want to work so hard, set up her enough. Unsympathetic Maddie would not like me either in this respect. I truly hope she goes on to have a happy life. She's a worker and will survive that way, but stopgap, she finds a family that actually values her. She isn't inescapably warm and fuzzy and has high norms, but she deserves to be appreciated for her strengths and not browbeat. And Janelle was particularly irked because she heard it from an stranger when Mary pitched this idea to the family for a loan. First, Kody said yes. Also, he backed out when they realized it was not going to be a family-possessed business, it would be Mary's alone. Also, Christine said to Mary, well, if your mama is going to live there, shouldn't she pay rent? It makes me wonder if this was Mary's response to Christine when Annie moved in with her. I feel like her friend Robin should have been on Mary's side in this. Easily she wasn't. I was no way an addict of Mary's, but you do have to admire her work ethic. And I still wonder if any of those kiddies ever demanded her. Indeed, the bones who don't like her, she'd be there for them before Kody would, I suppose. If Christine had allowed Mary to be there for visible when she had surgery, she'd have been. And I do not suppose it's that Mary isn't warm and fuzzy. I suppose she's been hurt numerous times by all the grown-ups in that family. I suppose the kiddies heard a lot of bad methon growing up, and I completely believe it affected them. When you see Mary with Kody in the early seasons, she just melts for him, and she makes jammies for the entire crew. That's a labor of love. She's always happy to be asked to help because I suppose that's her love language. She wants to show up and add her value to any script she can, but she has been rebuffed for decades now. She has to have a harder shell to cover herself. The catfish happed because Kody was terrible to her also, and just came more terrible in frontal of the camera. Over time, Mary was sad and lonely, feeling veritably unloved. I wish Sam had been real for her. I'd love to see her happy like Christine. On the other hand, what is worse than being the basement wife? A man walks into a bar. The bartender asks why the long face. The man replies, I just set up out. My wife is sleeping with another man. I have decided I am going to drink myself to death. The bartender looks shocked and says, I'm sorry, I cannot help you kill yourself. The man asks, well, what would you do in my situation? The bartender airs himself up a bit and says, if I set up out a Joe was sleeping with my wife, I wouldn't sit around feeling sorry for myself. I'd kill the Joe. The man jumps up from his coprolite and shouts, that is a great idea, thanks, and runs out of the bar. A couple hours go by, and the bartender is starting to get nervous when the man walks back into the bar with a smile on his face. Did you kill the Joe? The bartender asks nervously. Nope, I slept with your wife. Whiskey, please. On the other hand, Axel's birth boy. That discussion with Christine had me confused and worried for Mary. Mary walks into a house where she knows her birth is going on. She is nothing's favorite person. She does not see anyone, and the bedroom door is shut. She decides that perhaps this is not the right time. They went to see the therapist, and they were frenetic that she did not just shove herself, which I believe was in poor taste during birth. The door is shut for a reason. Axel Is born and Kex sends out a textbook not to come over the 3 Southwest are made. So that Mary is not there during the birth. She had checked in over the days. Also Christine calls her over to her house and says she's glad she wasn't there because she carries too important baggage with her. I got whiplash from these exchanges. She did not believe she should walk in an unrestricted door. She was asked not to come over after the birth. And also you have the hens picking and frenetic at her, but they said they didn't want her there. I do not get it, and I'll get hate for this, but my opinion of Christine did a complete 180 after that. Her speaking on behalf of Janelle and Maddie was just her sticking her nose in where it did not belong. It was on camera that Maddie said in front of Mary that once she was an active flavor, it would be just her and Calb in the room, nothing additional. Mary also tells Janelle she's picking up Leon and Audie from the field. She will have her phone on and textbook her if anything changes now. Of course Janelle was busy with Maddie, so of course she had other effects on her mind than Mary. Leon and Audrey come into Janelle's house and nothing is there. It's quiet and Janelle's bedroom door is closed, so they leave. Mary admired MD's request. The other 2 wives didn't, with how close Robin claimed to be to Mary. She could have fluently texted her, but she didn't. She could have fluently slipped down, gone to the restroom and transferred a quick textbook. Wouldn't it have been great if one or further of the camera crew members had pulled up the footage and given it to Mary to prove to the rest that she was esteeming Maddie's wishes? And Janelle was frenetic as hell at the therapist, but denied it. Not one of those women wanted her there, and I saw no baggage when she was holding that new baby when she eventually got to see it, and it was so disturbing to watch. There was no right answer for her to give. First they're worried she's not there when specifically asked not to be there. Also it's a problem that she makes effects about herself, and also it's a problem she didn't take it upon herself to barge through a unrestricted door with a sprat and a gallon hitch. If there's one thing I cannot stand, it's people who make it clear they are veritably proud of themselves for eventually being assertive, while the most unreasonable comes out of their mouths. Occasionally connections between people get messy, and that trouble isn't a reflection of the total of a person's character. That was disturbing to watch. Though if anyone was in the right, it was the person who followed the requests of the person giving birth and didn't complain. Occasionally I wonder if part of the trouble was that Mary did not make enough of a show about being worried about having missed the birth, which would have in fact been making the moment about herself. Still, Janelle is so surprised. As I watched this from the morning, I'm catching on that so numerous times Janelle says effects like I was so surprised I really watched about how we place the charge statement. Jules, or this isn't like me, but or I am generally the Eichel one, but I cannot suppose of all the exemplifications, but it happens nearly every occasion. I am wondering if she's actually a lot different from who she thinks she is. I suppose she used being the logical one as a defense medium. I love Janelle, but she's far from logical, and I wouldn't consider her as someone who is especially professed in codifying and using sense over feelings, but I do suppose she's the stylish at using sense and departmentalization of the 5 grown-ups. I also suppose she is the most positive. On the other hand, the reason I quit watching this show, principally when Robin showed up, so season 2 anyway, the reason I quit was how Kody treated Robin else right from the Beginning also I heard Christine was leaving, so I tuned back in to see that Mary and Janelle had been demurred to the wind, and ever Kody is an indeed bigger gumshoe than he was back also. His interviews make me want to throw stuff at the television, but the thing that really made me fall off the settee laughing was him having to go back to the auto for his sunglasses to use as a headband for his guileful beaches of hair. The lack of sapience is inconceivable. She's been there since season 1, but I stopped season 1 midway. His endless smile, his hair blowing in the wind while he drove in his convertible, and that vim in his step had me. Meanwhile, the women, except for Cleaner and Cry brothers, were in constant emotional fermentation. I was sick. Also, I Cybele surgery. I just realized that Kody not going to the surgery was a blessing in disguise. You know, Kody would just be whiny, making it 100x more stressful for both Isabel and Christine. I cannot imagine having him there just being an absolute pain in the burrow. Christine was suitable to keep it calm and steady through the surgery, recovery, and he'd have made it all about him. Christine learned also and there that life without him was going to be so much easier. Indeed, through one of the scariest and toughest jests of Eel's life and hers, it was easier to get through without him. That is so telling. One day Kadash will find himself an old man with no bone around. The kiddies will all be grown-ups. He and Cleaner and Cry bro earn each other. Also, Garrison getting worried with Soul in Alaska. Is not it weird that Kody says I want the other kiddies to stop correcting my kiddies? He is always pertaining to any kiddies as wives. Your kiddies, Janelle's kiddies, Christine kiddies. But this, it sounds like he heard it from Robin, and he repeated it first time watcher. And this stood out to me for some reason. He's creepy, and Robin and her pigsties are his kiddies' wife, family, and house. Everyone differently is the mama's kiddies.